Hey guys, this is Market Update. It does not feel good, does it? It just feels so weak. Everyone's capitulated. There's no buyers around except for Saylor, who's still smash buying everything he can, getting the worst fills ever. 10,000 Bitcoin at 92,000. And then we just get called straight down again. It's like as soon as Saylor steps in, everyone just calls up their prices by like 8%. He gets filled and they just call them back down again. But the bull's last stand right here, 100 period moving average for this bull market, I think, right? If you break through that, we're trying to get some support here, but it just feels so weak, doesn't it? But what's the worst case scenario here, right? You come back down to the previous all-time high. This period right here of absolute support that we've built here. There's a huge amount of price action here. You know, it's like worst case coming down to the 70s or the 200 period moving average. I mean, look at previous bear markets, back to the 200 week moving average in white, back to the 200 week moving average. This was a really terrible bear market. We're not getting those blow ups again, right? It's just not going to happen. I know the treasury companies have basically blown up. Saylor is not going to be selling any Bitcoin, right? He's got 2 years of, preferred dividends that he can pay in cash. So he's not going to be selling Bitcoin. Now, the amount he's buying has definitely come off, and you can feel that in the market. But what's the worst case scenario here? What, come down to 200 week, 57,000, 60,000, something like that? I mean, if you're buying the asset, right? If you want to accumulate the asset, where are you going to buy it? When it's fairly weak, when it's at trend. Look, this red box is where I wanted to sell this bull market. We didn't get there. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm not going to sell when we're at trend. The whole point of trading is you buy the trend or when it's below trend. And then if it does get above trend, which Bitcoin does, right? Didn't right now, but it does usually, then you can sell then because you're above the trend rate of growth. But we're not. So if we just carry on at the trend rate, well, then you can just stay in the trade, wait for the price to rise. But if we're up here, right? If we're at 200, really weak, that's worrying because you can come back down to trend. But we're kind of at trend, like it's not even a big deal. So I think there's this thing we have to get through, which is the capitulation of much of crypto and what it was. Because TradFi have come in, they've just picked it up and they've taken it away from us, right? And so a lot of the hope around crypto, especially online, from people that want to work in crypto or make money from crypto or have projects in crypto, all of that is basically done because TradFi have come in and they've said it's ours now. So that's it. And a lot of the money that's going to be made is simply going to be made in traditional companies. Coinbase, Paxos, Circle, Tether's going public, Kraken's going public, publicly listed equities, properly run businesses with proper traditional structures. They're going to earn a lot of the money from crypto. All of the crypto stuff has no regulatory arbitrage anymore, right? The big businesses can step in. It's regulated, regulatory capture, which is what they do. So a lot of these small projects realize there's nothing to do anymore and they can't compete. So I think that's why a lot of the sentiment is really, really down. But in terms of Bitcoin, which is completely different, it's just literally a digital commodity. We're kind of at trend. It's really weak. Nothing feels good. You never feel good buying weakness, but we're at trend. Yeah, it can get way worse, maybe 75, 60, come down to the 200 period. But when you buy those, you get rewarded, right? This is the true market mean. Whenever Bitcoin is down here at 0 or underneath that, I mean, look, that's a bear market. Right? That is a bear market. I think we're a bear market in attention, narrative, and hope right now. It's definitely a bear market for that. Not technically for the price, but if we come underneath this, that's a bear market. But that is where you have to buy because that is where you actually make the returns. I know it just feels awful, but that's where you have to buy. But look, the potential downside here is that NUPL really comes off and people make much larger losses, and that is a real bear market. So we're kind of on the edge, which is obviously an area where people get very, very nervous, and that's obviously expected. And traders, anyone that's in it for any other reason other than I'm just going to buy this thing and hold it for 10 years, anyone else is like, I want to get out. Because when you get to this level, people don't want to sit on losses. They don't want to sit on a 20, 30% drawdown for 6 months or how long it may be. And so everyone's like, I want to get out. And so it kind of rolls on, right? We need something to change in the macro, which it has. They're starting to print money, but it's not feeding through right now. Forget the rest of this year. You have to get some sort of major bullish catalyst, which isn't coming around, right? So there's no real reason why people can just step in and start bidding here, which is a shame, and everyone can feel that. But I think you just have to get through this period. If you do trade crypto, check out the link to Bybit down in the description. If you sign up by that link, make a deposit. They'll give you a deposit bonus to trade with. Anything you deposit, they'll give you a bonus up to $30,000. I think what many are worried about as well in markets is that, look, we're at all-time highs, basically. Bitcoin is off its high a little bit, but it can very quickly change. Markets are all-time highs. We've had a good run since the tariff tantrum, but people are worried that the Fed is just tinkering around the edges and not doing enough, right? They had a meeting with the banks a couple of weeks ago, and the banks clearly said there is no liquidity. You need to print money, right? And so they're printing money now, but it's tinkering around the edges. It's not the massive policy stimulus that would, just absolutely immediately kind of bring Bitcoin higher, right? There's clearly a lull in liquidity and a lack of liquidity, but they're tinkering around the edges. Interest rates are still way too high. And a lot of Trump's policies, the Trump admin's policies, are actually really deflationary, right? Look at oil. It's under $60 a barrel. And that's inflation adjusted. That's like the lowest oil prices in a generation. That's not inflationary, is it? Deporting people from your country, politics aside, not having as many people there is hugely deflationary for rents, housing, food, everything else. The tariffs are deflationary because they're a tax, which means they're taking currency out of the system. So there's massive disinflationary forces, and the Fed is still kind of umming and ahhing and, well, we're really worried. But if you look at all this stuff, the disinflationary forces are right here. So is there going to be this, do the Fed want a market panic to ensue before really, they want to print money. They need to print money, right? But you can't just say, we want to print money now, we think it's a good time. You kind of have to have this panic or some sort of cover, political cover, to actually go ahead and print the money. So do they want this to happen, or like what's their real game, right? But this is Stephen Mirren. Today I gave a speech on the inflation outlook. I believe underlying inflation is already running very close to the Fed's 2% target. He cites a few different data points here, but this is rents. So you can see housing, measured inflation, lags market rent significantly. And you can see that it should be disinflating now. If you look at the Fed's metrics, core PCE, housing and shelter is a huge part of that. So this could be weighing on that inflation a lot as well, bringing inflation way down. And so inflation, like rates are just way too high, and you're not helping anyone out by a 25 basis points cut, right? It's just not enough. It's just not enough to stop this. If you've got inflation already running at 2 and they're still kind of hawkish, the PMIs are so low, right? It's like, where's the inflation? And you're still pretending like it's around, and your rates are still way too high and you're not printing enough. So of course everyone's panicking, like the Fed's way offside. Is that on purpose? Do they want to cause a panic so they can just print a lot in a short period of time? Maybe. But the Fed is clearly making, I wouldn't say a mistake, because what they're actually here to do isn't to kind of manage things properly, right? They're actually here to cause boom and busts, so that when you have a bust, they have political cover to print money. So that's actually what they're here to do. That's actually what they want to create. And you can't go against them if they want a market panic to ensue. So that's a potential. The other potential is that simply doesn't happen. We get to the start of next year and you have the SLR coming in, you have no tax on tips, etc., which could be a fiscal stimulus, which could keep things going. So there's indecision. We're right at if you look at Bitcoin price, right, we're right at the point where we could just bounce off this into a fantastic, other new all-time high bull market, and we could collapse down. We're right at that point of indecision. And so, of course, many people that don't have conviction, or they're in a trade, they just want to get out, right? Like, I don't want it. If you have conviction, then there are many people buying here, but who's buying? Institutions, people like that. They're not going to be posting on X about they've bought XYZ amount of Bitcoin or anything like that, right? They're just doing their thing. So that's where we are. And you're either a bear or a bull. You either take the trade or not, right? But Federal Reserve injects $5.2 billion into the banking system. This is the 6th largest liquidity injection since COVID. It surpasses liquidity levels seen at the peak of the dot-com bubble. That's in nominal dollar terms. But in terms of percentages, things are so crazy right now that this basically isn't enough. This is federal debt as a percentage of GDP. This has to come down. And the only way it comes down is by growing GDP, because you cannot cancel the money, because then you create lower GDP and 1920s, 30s style depression. So you can't do that. So look, the game is stay in assets, right? Stay in assets. And if you can, when they're weak, you buy them. And I know it feels like, wow, we're at a decision point, we could definitely fall. That's where you make your money if you're in the right assets. I think Bitcoin is the right asset. We've had basically a 12-month period of underperformance versus the other assets now. It just feels like Bitcoin is not going to go away. It's not going to kind of fail against these assets, right? Digital money is more desirable than the other trades, right? Silver had a great year. It's not digital money for the long term, right? Silver's a trade. I just feel like Bitcoin's going to have the last laugh here. If you look at household debt, it's actually okay. It's actually coming down a lot. So it's the government's debt that's a problem worldwide as well. And the only way to actually sort this out is by higher GDP. And that's why Trump is saying, why do we want interest? Why do we want to keep GDP at 2%? Why don't we just run it 4, 6? He said like 25%, which is obviously a joke, but just get the debt to GDP down. You have to grow GDP. So he's looking for a short, sharp kind of reset by growing GDP instead of this kind of ticky-tacky 2%, and we want to, the actual inflation rate's like 10%, and so we just want to kind of debase like 5% a year. Why don't you just do it all in one go with a huge economic boom? So that's what he wants to do. And we're at decision point, right? And I think the markets as well are selling off because Powell has to leave. So monetary policy is going to change. You're going to have a different person there. You're going to get a change, and that's uncertain. And so markets just kind of come off until they know who's going to be in, and until policy gets a little bit more solid and they know what's going to happen. So there's indecision right now. There's weakness right now. I know everyone worries about the price of Bitcoin and the headlines, and it might crash to this level and that level. That's great short term, and it's a lot of fun. But the bigger game here is that you have to get out of fiat currency. Otherwise, you're paying much higher tax rates than other people. And this deficit here in the US, and the UK is running a huge deficit as well, that deficit is essentially taxation. It's not tax, and everyone will say, no, it's not tax. I get that. But what you're paying for, right, with this deficit, when you're in dollars, is that the price of everything rises in relation to those dollars. And so that is a tax, right? Because when you come to spend it, you just have less than you thought. And they've basically taken away your purchasing power through this. The money has to be printed. This is only the US government. They're just one version of a corporation. Every government is a version of a corporation. They just have much more special powers than others. And the US government doesn't have to create a deficit, but the money has to be printed, right? So if it's the central bank, which always buys the government's debt in the end, so they'll just be printing the money out of thin air, or you have commercial banks who will be creating currency, printing currency against assets or equity or future cash flows. But you always have to keep this going, right? You always have to keep the currency printer going. And so if you're in the currency, you are paying this tax. And it's one of the biggest receipts in the US, 458 billion in the fiscal year 2026. That's higher than individual income taxes. This creates inflation in prices, which if you're in the currency, you are paying for. If you're in assets, your assets go up by at least this amount. They should do over the long term. And so you're not paying that tax. And it's big, it's absolutely huge, right? It's one of the biggest taxes in the world is inflation in the currency. So who's going to be paying this tax? Anyone with dollars, anyone with government debt, and you get paid a little bit back, but you're still getting debased. And people coming into stablecoins. I know a Russian politician said, the US wants to digitize the dollar and debase the dollar and debase their debt. Yeah, that's what every government does. It's a competition between all of these current countries and currencies. What do you think the currency is there for, the government currency? It's not necessary to have a government currency, right? You can, like we used to, trade with gold coins. That's not a government currency. Why do we have government currency? Because they took control and they wanted to essentially tax us to do the two things that they spend money on, which is bribing voters and war. And fiat currency is the best version of that because you can just print the paper. You can print the debt, then the central bank was created to buy the paper, and that's how it works, right? You can't just print the paper from the government because the government will fall because no one will want that. You won't have legitimacy. So they just have this convoluted way of creating debt. And then the central bank, which is basically one for one with the government anyway. Oh, it's independent. It's not really independent. There'll be a crash if you don't print the money. So you've got to print the money, buy the bonds. So if you're in that, you are paying this high taxation to the government. And if you're in assets, you don't have to pay it. You don't have to pay that high taxation. Now they're going to charge you capital gains on the back end of that anyway. Once they've inflated your assets, they'll capital gains tax you anyway. So you know, it's ways around all of this, right? This is the system that we're in. But if you hold the currency, you're getting wrecked. Who's going to be paying for this taxation? Anyone that holds dollars, bonds, and stablecoin holders. And that's why the Russian politician was upset, because he realized that the dollar is the most desirable fiat currency, and people from developing nations are going to demand the currency, which the US can use to sell bonds and essentially tax people that aren't in the US a inflation rate. And that's what's going to happen. So that's better for those people if they're paying 10% in US dollar debasement every year versus 20, 30, 40% in the local currency. That's an upgrade for them. But if you have money to save, then 10% on a yearly basis over 5 or 10 years is pretty bad too. So you have to be in something that doesn't debase. Stocks, even your house, which is not particularly a good asset. I mean, you know, it degrades and it's an upkeep is very high, right? And the cost in insurance and everything else, but even that outperforms the debasement of currency. So if you want to pay higher tax, you have to be, you can stay in currency. If you want to try and avoid this as best you can, then you go into assets. Bitcoin's one of them. it's going to be a part of portfolios. It's going to be very small to begin with, and it's going to be volatile. But if you dollar cost average Bitcoin over any time horizon, you've done pretty well, and you've outperformed holding the dollar or any other fiat currency. And you can have a mix of assets, but you have to be in them, right? So Scott Bessent is saying that the calendar year-to-date deficit is 1.52 trillion, which compares to 1.93 trillion. So that's great. They're reducing the taxation on the debasement of currency. So they are doing that, and that's great. But money has to be created, whether it's from the central bank, whether it's from commercial banks. If there isn't enough currency printing, the Fed will step in like they're doing now and printing the money, right? So the money will be printed. There will always be this inflation or debasement that just ekes away at your savings if you're in the fiat currency. So you have to be out of it. And you can see here, the 2025 calendar year deficit to GDP may only be 5.5%. That's still too high, right? Because I think GDP in the US is running around 4%. So they're actually still creating more debt over and above the amount of GDP that it's creating, which is not a good scenario. And that's why they want so much foreign direct investment and new dollar creation from the world investment banks to pour in. They need GDP higher. They need dollar debasement to debase the debt to GDP. And the only long-term game is more currency. So if you want to pay that tax, that's up to you. You can be in the dollar. For long-term savings, you have to be in volatile assets, and volatile assets have bear markets and they go down. But over time, desirable assets, right? Gold is 5,000 years old as a monetary instrument, went up 60% in the last year. So I won't worry about Bitcoin in terms of what it can do. It's one of the assets that I think you should put in your portfolio. I think it's one of the best, but that's obviously down to the individual. If you trade Bitcoin and crypto, check out the Bybit deposit bonus down below, up to $30,000 via the link in the description. I'm James, this is MyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.